Welcome to the Love Couch. I'm your host, Carmelia Ray, online dating expert and celebrity matchmaker, here with my longtime friends, colleagues, and matchmakers, Nick and Tash, the founders of the Love Listeners. Thanks, ladies.
No problem.
Hi.
Happy to be here.
On the Love Couch, we talk about all things dating, mating, relating, and matchmaking. So I can't think of two better people to sit on this couch to talk about matchmaking. We had worked for years and years at a former company in Canada. We're based in Toronto. So I'm going to leave it to you ladies. Can you tell me a little bit about the art of matchmaking, what it is and why you love it?
I feel like it was the reason I was born. Like, I have always loved love my whole life, and even how I became a matchmaker was magical. But there is an art to it. You have to be super connected to people and know different types of who goes with who and who's going to be compatible. And then there's also the magic of it, that sometimes you put matches together in hopes that it's going to turn out. And it turns out fabulous. So it's hard to really define, but it's really about not so much what we do, but more about the
what
person.
you do.
Yeah, it's really about the person and where they're at. People always say to us, like, what makes someone successful when it comes to finding love? And our answer is always because they believed that they were going to. Over the last 20 years, when you meet the doubters of
The Debbie Downers,
yeah,
negative Ned.
Well, it's like, I really hope this happens, but it probably won't, because of failed past relationships and, bringing your baggage along with you. Once you throw doubt into anything, and it's not just matchmaking, it really messes with its success. So that's something that is like the bottom line. It's like, who are you? Who are you showing up to the world to be? And how are you as a lover? And not just a sexual lover, a partner in life of who you're going to show up to be in the relationship.
So Nicole, how often, this question is for you, how often have you met someone or heard someone give you this list of what they want, and then they end up with somebody who's nothing on their list? Can you speak about that a little bit and also talk about the list, agree or disagree to have one? I'm curious.
Okay, so I think everybody needs to have a standard, needs to have standards. I don't disagree with expectations as long as they're realistic expectations.
Can you expand on that?
I'm going to, definitely.
I need to jump into this too. Sorry.
I have a question for you, don't worry.
So the thing is that probably, I'm going to say 85% to 90% of the time, people end up not marrying what they thought who they thought they were going to marry.
You will never know
you don't know in
who
advance.
You're going to fall in love with until you do.
And if you have a type, get rid of it. Because it's usually not the person that you're going to marry. That's how it usually works out.
Can you share a recent story of a client that you've worked with now or in the past that speaks to this point?
So Katie had this a long list of demands that he had to be this, that he had to be university educated, he had to do this specific occupation, he had to be this tall, he had to be all these things that just at the end of the day it's not going to help you fall in love. But anyway, I have this ongoing conversation with her, trying to loosen her up a little bit. Finally, I find this really amazing guy, and I'm like, no. I think that his occupation, she was on the fence about his occupation, and then she completely was like, no, like it's just not good enough. Like I think he worked for the government, was it?
Yeah, she didn't think his occupation was.
It wasn't mighty enough for her. It wasn't
high standard.
Yeah. So, but anyway, long and short of it is, I tell her just please try this one. You just have to trust me on this. You have to try it. In the event that it's horrible, I'll replace it. But I feel good about it. Fine. She tries it. Falls in love. Thinks she can't even believe it. Her son, she was also recently divorced, and her son literally had a conversation with him one day, and this is months later. They're married now, by the way.
Wow.
They fell in love.
They fell in love.
Right
But her
away.
son even said, I'm so glad you came into my mom's life because now you're the coolest dad I never had.
Oh my goodness.
You know what I'm saying? So like
It ended
you just
up that her reservation with his occupation wasn't good enough. He ended up actually being friends with her boss. They met, they fell in love right away. She also was very reluctant to say yes because he was single, never married, with no children.
Yeah.
And so she made a judgment about him.
Of course.
Absolutely.
Thinking that
Everybody
because
does.
he's single, doesn't have kids, how could he possibly be a good partner?
Everybody does it.
So those were the preconceived notions that were probably blocking her from opportunities.
Exactly.
Absolutely.
Exactly.
I also had a client that same idea. Everybody thinks they know who they're gonna fall in love with, and you
But
just
don't they?
can't. Yeah, you will never know who you'll fall
You
in love
don't
with
know.
until you do.
Yeah, exactly.
And so she was a little more difficult to match, and I found the perfect guy for her. But her only no was that she never wanted to date a man who had a daughter because she felt that dads and daughters have a thing. And she didn't want to interrupt it, and she thought that it would ruin the relationship and all of that. So we had a little banter back and forth because nobody says yes right away. You have to be convinced into saying yes.
Which is crazy.
So I said, you know what? I'm going to leave it alone. You think about it, and you let me know. So she calls me back, and she's like, you know what, Natasha? I'm being ridiculous. I said, you know what? I agree. I think you should have coffee. It's only
No
coffee.
sugarcoating over here.
Yeah. Sure.
It's just a coffee. It's not happily ever after at this point.
Yeah.
So it's best to keep an open heart and an open mind when you're searching.
For our audience who's hearing this, and we don't want to confuse you, but I think the underlying message I'm getting is if you have these beliefs that somebody's not good for you based on a set of conditions, or you can't date a man with a child, or you can't date a person who's in a certain occupation or income bracket or neighborhood that they live in, those aren't the things that really matter. Can we talk a little bit about why you as matchmakers had the intuition and mindfulness of knowing why they made a good match? What was the reasoning behind the match, irrespective of like the other circumstances, the things that didn't really matter? What makes for a great match?
That is not something you can necessarily teach.
Yeah.
That's something that you have that. And we've always been very good at using our intuition when putting matches together. So for that couple that I was like, you have to try this.
Yeah.
You have to try this. There was just this knowing of, and then it turned out, also to add to that, it turned out that they had all kinds of other things in common that I didn't even know about.
They didn't even write down.
They didn't write down, like they both were into martial arts, and like he didn't have that. You know what I mean? And that's another reason why you have to get to know them, so that you can, all the things that are not on paper, you want to be able to match
That's
for.
what is going to make you, what is going to make you fall in love with someone is how they make you feel.
Yes.
That's how people get in crazy situations. Like, oh, you know, I don't want a gold digger because I had that before. And my answer to that is always, somebody can't dig your gold unless you let them. And the reason you let that happen is because that person made you feel good. And until they don't, then you start reevaluating what's up when it doesn't feel so good anymore. So
Exactly.
that is really, like, when we talk about standards, it's not about, oh, they have to make this amount of money. Granted, if you're a successful person, you're not going to date a dirtbag. We're not talking about that. We're talking about standards of how that person makes you feel.
Yeah.
That's what, are they giving at the same level that they're receiving? And, like, you know, ways to protect yourself from it going wrong.
Also, it's also coming in, like what we always say, coming in from the loving space instead of the wanting space.
Yeah. Somebody who's wanting.
So to layman's terms, that it's, you want to meet somebody that's coming in that is open to or specifically looking for love, versus somebody that's saying that they're just kind of casually dating.
Well, we've worked together and collaboratively on pairing our clients. As well, we've worked together where you've provided support to helping people online.
Yeah.
So you know the online dating environment, you know what the culture is like, the mindset.
Yeah.
One of the mistakes I see people making on online dating sites is writing all the list of things they don't want.
Oh, yeah.
This is one of the biggest mistakes that you can make. To your point, it's, again, attracting what you don't want by listing all the don'ts.
Yeah.
What's a piece of advice that you can share for people who are considering online dating and seeking a serious match? What can you share about that?
Tash?
I would say that you don't want to entertain the people that you know aren't going to be good for you. So,
But they're so cute.
yes, no,
Stay
you want to,
in
but
your
you
lane.
want, well, you want to continue. You want to communicate with people that you do think are attractive.
Sure.
But it's more about what they're sharing and how they're articulating their correspondence with you that you can see. I mean, intuition is like, that's why it's always good to have help, because my personal feelings are not attached to it. Because,
Sure.
you know, if you're single and lonely and you're getting like, you're beautiful, it's like, oh, you need that, and it fuels you and it feeds you, but then you get lost in that. So it's always good to have professionals on hand, because my emotions I'm looking for, like, are you a scammer? Are you serious about this? Are you saying just sexual things to me? Like, I'm evaluating all of these things before I'm going to get our clients involved, to be like, hey, I think this is a good candidate and you should give him a try.
Yeah.
So there are things that you certainly, you want to look at the seriousness of the person.
A key red flag, to just give you one off the top of my head right now, is when people say things like, I don't want any drama, nobody with drama, that brings drama. Usually,
They're full of drama.
Ladies and gentlemen, the moment someone says that in their tagline or in their profile at any point, that is beware. Because that's what, and you know, they probably come by it honestly, that's what they're used to. And that's why you're saying that, but you're not realizing that you're attracting that to you.
Yeah, other people that don't have drama in their life,
never say that.
Don't bring it up.
They will never say that.
Not even coming to their mind.
Yeah, exactly.
Sure, just like I don't want a cheater, I don't want a broke guy, I don't want a drug dealer.
Guess what you're gonna get next?
Right?
A cheating, drug dealing, broke guy.
Exactly. Well, ladies, it's always a pleasure to have this conversation. Yes. How can they reach you if they would like to either, you know, be part of your network or get the incredible advice and support that you offer?
Yeah. So you can follow us on our social media. You can reach out to us on social media as well. That is on Instagram, it's The Love Listeners. On Facebook, it is The Love Listeners Live. And our email address, or of course our website, www.thelovelisteners.com.
And don't you have a Nick and Tash? Do you?
No, we don't. We kind of merged it.
Okay. Okay. So the Love Listeners.
But our Love Listeners Live Facebook is definitely more of a personal, professional page. So you get to kind of get to know our personalities a little bit there as well. Where our Instagram is just more, I guess.
Perfect. Well, guys, here you have it. We are on the Love Couch with the Love Listeners, bringing to you live great dating advice, matchmaking tips. I'll send all the links so we can stay connected, and we'll see you next time.